the orders against production of the third generation ID, what we are calling digital ID, or what we are calling Maisha card, and we are happy. So we are saying that is another very important flagship project for this government, because ID is the soul of the nation. It is the foundation of the nation. And when the court stopped it, it was really very unfortunate. And it was at the peak period when Form 4s were finishing school, and we had many people applying for IDs, about 600,000 of them who wanted IDs, but we are happy that we got the committee. So the second flagship for this government is ensuring that we have a digital ID for every Kenyan. The third area, which is very critical, which this department is handling, is what we call visa-free policy. And I'm happy to note that we've been able to roll out from the beginning of January a visa-free Kenya. So all persons coming to Kenya now are coming in visa-free, and we have in place what we call ETA, a security mechanism to screen those people coming in to Kenya. And we have been able to receive more than 200,000 tourists for the last 1 month coming in visa-free to Kenya. And we have been able to raise more than $1 billion from that arrangement alone. The other important component, third flagship project for this government that we're handling here, is labor migration. Together with the Ministry of Labor, we are playing a very important role in supporting labor migration because of passports. We are the ones who are issuing travel documents, and therefore we play a very critical role in labor migration. So back to the question the chairman you have given me, I wanted to highlight those 4 critical priority areas which we have, of course. Not that those ones are in the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto, but over and above that, we also have what we call a Shirika Plan under refugees, which is also a very important project we are rolling out, moving refugees from encampment to what we call integrated settlement. And Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, I want to say that in the year 2024-2025, we have a ceiling of 16.6 billion, which is broken down as follows. That is on page 7 of the document I'm presenting. The State Department has been allocated 15.73 million, of which 15,873 million as shown on table 1. We have the breakdown as follows. The current recurrent expenditure is 10,289,000,000. The development expenditure 5.584 billion, totaling to 15,873,000,000. Against the projection of what is it? 27 billion. We have 16 billion against a projection of 27 billion. I was just trying to look for that figure and I'm not getting it. 27,926,000,000. Thank you very much. Broken down as follows: 18.2 billion for recurrent, 9.7 billion for development, totaling to 27.9 billion. That is that you can see clearly, honorable members, through the chair, that we have a very huge deficit, a deficit which we are requesting the committee to help us to be able to bridge. Just to go to the next page, the list of some of the projects under better are as follows. On e-citizen, the estimated cost of the project is 4 billion. The allocation for 2023-2024, because it was a new department, was 182 million. The requirements for then was 1.051 billion. That's on page 8. The budget ceiling that we have been given is 377,500,000, and then we have the deficit of 673,500,000. And it's our considered opinion that we need more resources to be able to stabilize the system. As we are aware, honorable members through the chair, e-Citizens now is carrying 17,000 services, of which 14,000 are live from across the government, from across all departments. And yet, when e-Citizen was started last year, it didn't have any budget completely. We were actually starting from, the money we relied on to onboard the 5,000 services was largely from private sector. We got support from Safaricom, KCB, Airtel, Equity Bank, Cooperative Bank, and quite a number of other agencies. And right now, the system is a little bit in a challenge because we need more resources to be able to stabilize that system and ensure that we're able to carry everybody along the way. And I'm happy to report that through e-Citizen, we have been able to grow the revenues from 50 million or 60 million to more than 900 million per day in some instances, because the revenues are fluctuating. Sometimes it comes to around 600, 700, but at the peak, it goes to up to 900 million in one single day. That tells us actually the system is really able to even do better. Rollout of the third generation ID, what we are calling Maisha card, or the digital ID, which was lifted by the court yesterday. Our estimated cost of that project is 20 billion, and the allocation we got last year was 980 million. The understanding here is that everybody finally will be given this third generation ID, the ID with a chip. And we are saying, due to the increase of demand, right now we are issuing about 3 million IDs per year. But we are saying, going forward, we may need to give everybody this ID with a chip. And we are saying we are going to start by first giving the people who have just finished Form 4 and become adults. And then later on, we can now roll it out slowly through replacements to give every Kenyan that kind of ID. So that when a Kenyan loses the old ID, the second generation, we don't issue them with the old generation ID. We issue them now with a new generation ID. In addition to that, we're also rolling out what we call Maisha number. That is a number given to every newborn who is born in Kenya. And that number becomes a number which they continue with it throughout their lifetime. It becomes their ID number. It becomes their school number when they are in primary school, school number in secondary, it becomes their university registration number, it becomes the ID number throughout, and that finally becomes the number they use for their KRA PIN. That way, we are able to unify all the data and track someone from when they are born throughout. We're also doing an IPRS upgrade. As you may be aware, honorable members, IPRS is the center of all the data that the government receives from civil registration, from registration of persons, from refugees, from the entire government. And this is a system which feeds the entire government. It feeds KRA, it feeds NHIF, it feeds NSSF, it feeds every other system in government, and that's why we need to upgrade it so that it's also be able to stabilize. It also feeds the private sector. If the private sector wants to confirm who is a Kenyan or who is not a Kenyan, they usually check with IPRS, and we are requesting for 2.5 billion. The estimated cost of the project. And then digitization of immigration continues. As you may be aware, immigration was the first one to be digitized in the entire government, apart from KRA, and we want to continue that project. We have also what we are calling integrated border management system, which is also carrying the visa-free regime. Under integrated border management system, we have quite a number of components. We have facial recognition, we have e-gates, we have quite a number of components which form this very important project. Of course, we also have Shirika Plan, which is a refugee program. It has largely been funded by UNHCR, but we are saying it's time also the government chips in to be able to ensure that we're able to manage refugees. Already we are getting a lot of support from out there through construction of municipalities, roads, both in Dadaab and Kakuma. And we are saying the government has committed to roll out the Shirika Plan to ensure that we have a new policy shift, which is going to ensure that we have refugees not depending only on aid, but being people who contribute also to the development of the country. We want their contribution, we want their skills, we want their talent, we want them to be part and parcel of national development. That is all about Shirika Plan. Other projects is maintenance of immigration offices. The government is committed to ensuring that we open more offices, and the government has directed that we open more offices, one office in Kericho, another office in Bungoma, another office in Nyeri. We also expand the office in Garissa, and that also requires support from the committee. We also want to expand the network of both registration and civil registration. As you may be aware, our registration offices are not in all counties, so it's our considered opinion that we expand so that in every sub-county we have at least a national registration office and a civil registration office. We have so many requests of members of parliament requesting to have the offices rolled out in their sub-counties and in their constituencies. The other very important area which we have been having a problem is supply of passport production. Passports remain a major challenge for us because of underfunding. And I think the committee is well aware that when His Excellency pronounced that people go out, the demand for passports has moved from 500,000 per year to more than 2 million. So the demand has gone 4 times more than. That's why there are so many people now requesting for passports. And we are requesting the committee to help us be able to overcome this. The main problem with passports has always been underinvestment, as the CS said in our meeting in Nakuru. The money that we need, like right now as we speak, as we sit here now, 800,000 Kenyans have paid for passports. They have paid literally. They have paid the government close to 5 billion. And yet they are not able to get the document. They are not getting the document. And yet they are paid. They say they have applied on easy reason, they have paid, and we cannot give them the document. And yet, in our store, we have about 80,000 booklets remaining, only 80,000 out of 800,000 that have applied. And the supplier on the other side is saying, pay me my money, I give you the booklets. We have about 500,000 booklets which have been procured, but they cannot be released. Why? Because the government has not paid. So the whole idea is about really money. And when we have about 80,000 booklets in store, that really creates a big challenge. It creates now, when we now start planning about just dealing with emergencies, some immigration officers take advantage. They start fleecing Kenyans and asking them for bribes and that kind of thing. And it becomes a complicated issue. So our request through the Honorable Chair to the committee is we deal with this issue of passports once and for all. Even if it is possible, we keep all the money so that when we sell up these passports, we keep the money so that we give the passport first before we give the money back to Treasury. I think that would be able to solve this problem once and for all. So that when you sell and you don't take money to Treasury, it gets lost there. But you sell and give the product first before you remit money, the balance now to National Treasury. I think that kind of arrangement is what is making us request for 5 billion of A&A, because the money we are collecting from passports alone, sale of passports, is about 5 billion. And we are saying, why don't we keep all that money? Give out the passports first before we are able to give to Treasury whatever balances it remains. The other area which is very important to note is immigration system, both hardware and software, 7.5 billion. Purchase of booklets, which I've already explained. Provision for facial recognition system, which is a Japanese funded project. Japanese government gave us 200 million as seed money to implement the facial recognition system. Construction of immigration border points, which you are requesting 2.9 on page 9. We are also saying maintenance of a civil registration system, 1.5 billion on page 10. Completion of the registries which have already been started. We are requesting for, the estimated cost is 2 billion, but there's a lot of underinvestment on that. And Honorable Chair, largely I would want to say that if you look at the whole scenario of the State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services, The department has been trying to do her best to be able to deliver the goods, but the problem has largely been under investment. If you look at the document, there are so many things we are trying to do to support the government. But over and above all these things, because it's a service-driven department, we're requesting for really consideration in additional funding in very critical areas. And allow me, Mr. Chairman, or Honorable Chair, to take you to page 17, which is having a summary of what additional funding we're requesting for this year. Let's go to page 17, where on general administration and planning, we are talking about refurbishment of immigration offices. The deficit this year is 858 million for the next financial year. Because the cost of the project is 3 billion, the resources that have been given are 42 billion, and we are 42 million, and we are requesting for 858 million. On NRB, on electronic ID, the cost of the project is 20 billion. The allocation we got is 1.3 billion. The resource requirement for this year alone is 1.9 billion, because 20 billion is for the entire project. And the deficit we have for 2024-2025 is 630 million.